Oh, well, it is such a privilege and such an honor to get to join with you all again and practice. The focus of today is timely, considering the events of the world that have been happening, and it's equanimity. And equanimity, or this quality of even-mindedness, is about cultivating this capacity to be with whatever is arising, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, in a very spacious, open, non-reactive way. So a very spacious presence. And it's in this presence that we're able to see what's happening within ourselves clearly. We're able to see what's happening around us clearly. And then from that place, we can respond from our highest intelligence, from our wisdom, from our hearts, and really from our humanity. And this is considered in the Buddhist tradition one of the divine abodes. So one of the highest states of an awakened heart is this capacity to meet the changing winds of life in a balanced, non-reactive way. And it's not in a cold way. It's not indifference, but it's really this, I like the image of like open hands holding. It's like you're holding really with a tenderness, like what is arising? And then there's this space to be able to then respond effectively. And the psychologist and Holocaust survivor, Viktor Frankl, described it really well when he wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space rests our power and our freedom. And it's in that space that is our growth and our potential." And so I think we can all sense that potential within us to pause amidst whatever is happening and respond from our hearts versus that, reflexive reactivity. And I always find an evolutionary perspective helpful in working with these human energies. And deep within the motivational systems of the brain are structures that are designed to, if what is arising is pleasant, to say, I like this, I want it, to cling on to it, and then to crave it. So it's this really fast chain reaction. If what's arising is unpleasant, the response is, I don't like this, I don't want it, and a tensing against, and then either a fearing or a fighting. So these reactions happen so quickly that most of the time they're below our conscious awareness. And that stimulus of pleasant or unpleasant, it might be an event that's happening in the world. It might be an uncomfortable sensation, right? If there's discomfort in the body, we kind of naturally change, try and get away from it. It might be a thought that we have about a person or a situation that is pleasant or unpleasant. And then that chain reaction, when it plays itself all the way out, is often what's leading to behaviors that are not in alignment with our values or in alignment with our highest wisdom, our highest potential. So I find it so helpful to know this is just part of our survival wiring, right? It was really helpful that our ancestors, if they saw or smelled tasty food, particularly high fat, high sugar foods, there's the, ooh, pleasant, I like it, I want it, I'm gonna climb to the top of the banana tree to get it. Or if it was unpleasant, something that smelled poisonous or disgusting, I don't like it, I don't want it, I'm gonna tense against it, I'm gonna move away from it. So it's not that this is a bad thing, it's that when it's operating unconsciously, it leads to really the greatest suffering that we see, being consumed by hatred or being consumed by addiction, and not having that space that Viktor Frankl talks about to be able to hold, to bear witness to what's arising. And then in that space of clear seeing, being able to respond. So today we're going to practice equanimity, and we'll practice in a number of ways. The first practice that I'll guide us through is really going to focus on being in the present. So the first kind of step in practicing equanimity is paying attention to the present moment on purpose, with that quality of curiosity, what is arising. And then when we notice pleasantness or unpleasantness, whether it's in the body, whether it's a thought we're having, whether it's a strong feeling, whether it's a sound outside, and we'll practice in different ways, how do we, rather than getting lost in liking or disliking and then that chain reaction response, how do we just bear witness to it? Oh, this is pleasantness, or this is unpleasantness. And allowing ourselves really the freedom just to rest back as awareness, that vast, spacious presence that can hold what's passing through. And a few helpful techniques in working with that is one we've talked about before, which is naming. So to name, this is sorrow, this is itching, this is tingling. And for me, also adding the phrase passing through is really helpful. This is sorrow passing through. This is itching passing through. And the second step is really saying yes to the experience, to opening to it fully, that this is the weather system that's here, and holding it with that open hand. And then the third step is continually resting back in this wider perspective. And I like the way the teacher Pema Chodron describes it, where she says, remember that you are the sky and everything else is just weather. So continually resting back in that vast, spacious, tender sky. So this practice will be about 20 minutes, and then we'll have time for some reflection at the end. And then Grace will lead us in the second practice. So whenever you feel ready, you can allow the eyes to close, knowing you can also keep the eyes open, finding a soft point to gaze at, whatever feels more comfortable. And as we move into this practice of equanimity, you might begin just by sensing or imagining a sky, a vast, open, spacious sky. And as clouds and weather systems, storms and clear sunny days pass through the sky rests back, holding, noticing, bearing witness. And turning the attention now to notice the body breathing. Wherever you happen to feel the breath most readily, most easily. There's no need to change the breath. Just bringing a tender curiosity to the sensations of inhaling and the sensations of exhaling. And if you'd like, when you find the very bottom of the exhalation, place right at the bottom of the exhale, silently whispering to yourself, here. Here. This breath, an invitation home to the body, right here. Home to the present moment, right here. And following one more breath in this way. Turning the attention now to sound. So opening the ears and receiving sound. Sounds that are happening inside the room where we are sitting, outside the room where we are sitting. And as sounds come, allowing them to pass through as a vibration, whether pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. The freedom simply to be with sound without any judgment. Resting in a pool of sound. And from sound, bringing the attention now into the body. You might notice the sensations around the chest as you feel the body breathing. And as we gradually expand to include the body as a whole, as sensations arise, whether pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, resting back as the sky, holding with an open hand. You might notice now the torso from the collarbones all the way down the front side of the body to the hip bones, noticing sensation. Noticing the back side of the torso from the tops of the shoulders, down the back body, to the ridge of the hips. And staying aware of breathing, noticing the torso as a whole, front and the back side together. Sensation coming and going, ebbing, flowing. Noticing now the sensations around the eyes, the jaw, the tongue inside the mouth, the cheeks and forehead. Noticing now the whole top of the body, from the crown of the head all the way down to the hip bones, including the arms, fingertips. And the freedom to rest back as the sky, noticing sensation. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, held in this tender awareness. Noticing now the lower half of the body, from the hip bones through the legs, to the knees, calves, ankles, to the tips of the toes. Density, vibration. And aware of the body breathing. Sensing the continuity of awareness, the continuity of being, including the body as a whole. the body through which every experience is filtered, received and filtered. Saying yes, internally saying yes to whatever is here, pleasant or unpleasant. Allowing the sky of awareness to hold and bear witness to what is passing through this body. Perhaps sensing a spacious, friendly attention. Sometimes the image of a little half smile. Very helpful way of allowing or meeting whatever is here. The qualities of a half smile. Welcoming, inviting. And aware of the body breathing. This invitation home to the present. And this continuity of being. Expanding awareness to include feelings that are present. Whether pleasant or unpleasant. Bearing witness as the sky of awareness, whatever weather system is passing through. And if helpful, you might mentally and silently note, this is joy passing through. This is sorrow passing through. This is confusion passing through. This is agitation passing through. This is ease passing through. Sensing this background, space, open, balanced, friendly, can hold what is passing through. You might sense a growing groundedness, ease. And aware of the body breathing. Invitation home to the present moment. Expanding to include any thoughts that are present. Thoughts coming sometimes in the form of stories, to-do lists, sound bites or video clips of the future or the past. And whether pleasant or unpleasant or neutral, resting back as the sky, bearing witness with dignity, confidence, not needing to change what is passing through, not needing to hold on to or to push away. And staying aware of the body breathing. In these last minutes of our practice, you might again connect with the image of a half smile. An open, balanced presence. You might even allow the facial expression of equanimity to grace your face. The bodily expression of equanimity. Palms open to the sky, holding, bearing witness to whatever is passing through. And if what is passing through, whether in the body or the heart, the mind or the environment around you is quite difficult, it can be very helpful to support equanimity with a sincere tenderness, a sincere kindness. For me, a simple phrase like, "Sweetheart, this is passing through. I'm here with you." Or trust your heart's capacity. Or rest in love. Sensing the freedom to be with whatever is arising. Knowing that this breath is always here. Bring us home to the present moment. Meeting whatever is arising in the body, in the heart, or in the mind, with spacious, tender, non-reactive presence. And bringing the attention now back to sound. Opening the ears to receive sound. From sound, bringing the attention back to the body as a whole, the crown of the head, all the way to the tips of the toes. And feeling ourselves here, in this body, in this moment, in this space. With dignity, the sincere intention that calls us to practice. Taking a moment to be proud of this pause. It takes a lot of courage to sit amidst ever-changing winds of human experience. Just to notice. And I'll close with a quote from Jack Kornfield, who says, "Equanimity is the willingness to be in life, but to be spacious and open, to have a vast perspective and say, yes, here I am, showing up, caring and loving, but I am not in control of this game." And so taking your time, please linger here as long as you like, as long as you need. And when the time feels right, to slowly open the eyes and come on back. Can do so. Well, what we did takes courage to sit and bear witness to what is and keep resting back as that sky of awareness without the clinging or the pushing, and observing that within ourselves through the practice really takes intention. And for our writing reflection today, I wanted to share just 3 daily practices that you can do without sitting and formally meditating to help cultivate really the underlying neurology behind equanimity. And these practices come from Rick Hanson, just who makes neuroscience so applicable and practical. And he says one of the really important things we can do to cultivate equanimity is throughout the day, whenever a need is being satisfied, a need for food, a need for relationship or connection, a need for safety, being in your home, or contentment is being met, to, as we've discussed before, to really savor it. So to have that felt sense of like, whoa, abundance when you open your refrigerator door and see all that food. Or when you get inside your cozy bed and you're like, wow, I really am grateful for the safety of my home. To really let yourself have a felt sense of these basic needs being met is one way to really create that neural circuitry that supports that ability to be with rather than cling after or push away. Another practice he mentions is just zooming out. Anytime we can zoom out of the part into the whole. And that could literally be taking your head up from your desk and looking up and around and taking in the whole room. Or if you can see a horizon, taking in the whole. Anytime that we can get a sense of the whole versus the part, that also supports our capacity for equanimity in daily life. And then the third practice is just bringing ourselves home to the present whenever we can. Most of our clinging, craving, leaning forward, wanting is actually happening in this capacity we have as humans for mental time travel, right? If you kind of scan your days, how often you're like thinking about, what am I gonna have for that snack? Or I really hope that this presentation goes a certain way because I want to be seen in a certain light. Or alternatively, I really don't want this thing to happen and I'm moving away from it, and it's mental time travel. So anytime we can invite ourselves home to the present, that's also strengthening the underlying neural circuitry for equanimity. So I wanted to share those 3 practices in case that might be interesting over the coming weeks. I know I've really enjoyed the widening the view, how often we're just in our day and just looking up, getting a sense of the whole. And if you want to expand all the way to, Earth, this tiny planet floating in the Milky Way with billions of stars, that's a powerful practice. So we'll take just 2 or 3 minutes to reflect on what you noticed in the practice of equanimity, what that was like. I know sometimes when I sit to practice, there's a whole lot of clinging, craving, and sometimes there's a whole lot of resisting that's going on, and noticing what that was like for you in the body. And then these 3 practices, when it might be helpful to think about them throughout your day, of really internalizing a felt sense of needs being met in the moment, expanding the view, or coming home to the present.